Order at 5:05, if we could. Any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest?
No.
Seeing none, can I have a motion on number 3 to approve the agenda for today, please?
So moved.
Mary Rose, Andy
Second.
McIntosh. Oh, okay. Ian McSweeney,
Yep.
thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we were in camera. Now we'll call this our public session. So we'll convene into our public session. And item 6, the very first item up here, is the policing grants review. And I think our board secretary, Mary Lou, are you going to take us through a little bit of this? Did I throw you off? Is that what you were expecting?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, so I'll give you a brief overview. We currently have 4 grants in play, starting with the first one. It's the Victim Support Grant. It's a 2-year grant cycle, so starting in 2021, it goes through to 2023. And the board was awarded $45,387. The focus of this grant was a mobile technology initiative to increase capacity for police to better respond to the unique needs of victims and survivors of both intimate partner violence and human trafficking. This gives victims the option to speak to police and provide statements at their home or any other neutral location that they're comfortable with. And it facilitates timely access to safety and support services through enhanced coordination between police and local victim services community agencies such as FTP, DST, Dufferin Situation Table, and Calvin Dufferin Victim Services. This is working out very well. In fact, recently there's a situation involving a male who was a victim of intimate partner violence situation, was very uncomfortable coming to the police station, and subsequently they were able to obtain a statement from him right in his home, and he was comfortable with that. Otherwise, this person may not have provided a statement or cooperated. So it is working very well. The next grant I'd like to speak to is the Community Safety and Policing Grant. This is the local priorities with mental health initiatives. This is a 3-year grant that commenced in 2019, and it was originally written by the Orangeville Police Service, and from 2019 to 2022. And the board was awarded $360,000, paid in installments of $120,000 a year. All the initiatives were related to better serving our community members and better providing mental health supports. One of the really positive, we're in year 3 of this grant, and one of the really positive outcomes that we've seen was prior to 2019, 70% of persons who were in a mental health crisis were apprehended and taken to hospital. Now that number is down to about 38.4%. So that's a tremendous improvement by engaging our community partners and being able to better serve their needs. So some very positive outcomes as a result of this grant initiative. What's also interesting is we've really evolved. Originally, it was engaging the Dufferin Situation Table, where there was 12 or 13 community partners that met weekly, and providing wraparound supports for persons who are in crises. From there, we evolved to an integrated crises team who met daily to review persons who are in crises and provide supports. And we're now at a point where we have a mobile crisis response team where a crisis worker can attend on scene with police and provide support right then and there. So it's been a real evolution, and it's certainly been money well spent. The next grant I'd like to speak to is another Community Safety and Policing grant. This is the Provincial Priorities one, and this one was focused on human trafficking initiatives. This one commenced in 2020 to 2022, and we were awarded over $120,000, and it was split fairly evenly, around $60,000 per year. Our focus with this initiative was training for our officers. We did have some challenges the first year because we wanted 2 of our detectives to attend the Canadian Police College for a very intensive human trafficking course. And as a result of the pandemic, the course was canceled. So we came up with a local initiative, and working with community partners, we trained numerous officers, both from Dufferin and surrounding detachments. And then the second year, we were successful in 2 of our detectives attending the Canadian Police College and completing the Human Trafficking Investigators course. As well, there was technology purchased to better assist police in surveillance and gathering the appropriate evidence to ensure successful outcomes in court. So we're just coming to the close of that grant. And we were just, the 4th grant I want to speak to, I'm very excited about. We were just successful in securing $450,000 for the Canadian Community Safety and Policing Grant, Local Priorities, Dufferin Mobile Crisis Support. This, the funds awarded with this grant will fund the mobile response team, crisis team, for the next 3 years. It will fund the dedicated OPP officer to be on the mobile crisis response team for the next 3 years. So that's an overview of the 4 grants that are currently in play. 2 are coming to a close. They are the 2 that were originally written through the Orangeville Police Service, and the other 2 are fairly new grants.
It's amazing. That's a lot of good stuff going on. Thank you very much for that update, Mary Lou. Mary Rose, I see your hand first. Did you want to speak?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and Mary Lou, but actually I want to ask the inspector if I could ask a couple of questions. I personally would wonder if we could have at some point a workshop, a short one, just for the board about the human trafficking program, and what nothing like you had done before for your officers, but just something to make us all more aware of what's happening and how they'll be deployed and what will happen. That was the first question. My second one was there was money for a 3rd officer to go to CPC, but didn't happen. Will a 3rd officer actually get that training? And then finally, on the mobile crisis unit, who was the police officer partner?
Did you write all those down, Inspector Ward?
Oh, holy smokes, Mr. Chair! She must think I've got a memory.
I can do them one at a time.
Yeah, go. What was your
The
first
one? A workshop for the board about human trafficking.
Absolutely, we can set something up. I can try and get someone to come in and speak on the topic, and just give you a high-level overview on it. Yes, I actually have looked into that, and I will definitely set that up. Maybe even for the next meeting, we can have someone come in and do a brief little overview on it if that works. But I'll touch base with the chair and see what we can set up.
Thank you.
Number 2.
Second one was about the 3rd officer being allowed to go to CPC to get that training.
I don't have, Mary Lou probably is more up on that than I am. I believe so. It's just a matter of when that course is offered. I think it's one of those courses that they maybe offer once a year. And as long as it's offered, we'll make sure that someone gets on it. And number 3, you're asking about the officer, and yes, that's Constable Giovanetti is our mental health response officer. And again, that all these grants that Mary Lou's been successful with go right into and join hook with the Solicitor General's grant that we were successful in getting as well, which was $203,000, which we've partnered with Headwaters to form that full-time crisis response. Right. So Headwaters is in the process of advertising for a full-time crisis worker that will be situated with our OPP officer to form that union. So it's all really good stuff. And some of it's not moving as fast as I'd like to get it going, but we're on the right track, and we have to start somewhere. right? And we want to show our partners out there that, you know, we're all going to work together. We're all one big team, and it's all based for community, right? And I know there's been some hiccups and from some of the partners that they're kind of wondering why we're doing this, and it's one of those things I keep saying that, you know, we all have to work together, and this whole mental health piece is a huge piece, and we're all going to see it come together, and it's the betterment of the community, right? And again, I look at it from my lenses too, is the calls for service, right? Like, we expect to get that first call for service when someone's in crisis, and that's when we respond. Then it's up to our mental health officer and our crisis worker to get that person to the right resources, that we don't get that second, third, fourth call for crisis. They have the right people in the right places to deal with these people. So that's the end game.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's good. Okay, so I think we're through. Does any other board members have any questions for Mary Lou on the excellent work there? No? Just as a comment, it is incredible the amount of work that's being done by this individual that's sitting on our call with us. So I do want to say how impressed I am, and thankful that you're doing that great work, Mary Lou. So thank you. It's amazing. Amazing what you're able to get done, and the knowledge base that you have is we're just blessed. So thank you very much.
It truly is a collaboration. I'm just one small cog in the wheel. Truly, there's a team working on this. Absolutely. I can't take credit.
So great. Okay. And to your point, thank you, Inspector Ward, to your team too, for working with the town on these things. I think it's a great thing.
Oh, absolutely. And Mr. Chair, I'll echo your sentiments. Like, Mary Lou is phenomenal. And when she gets together with some of the people from our office and all this other, I mean, it's amazing what they can accomplish. And it's great to see that we get the results. And I think on the big one there, I think I was able to bring the news to Mary Lou that we got it, and that was pretty exciting. So it was it's definitely a win for us, that's for sure.
That's great.
Lovely.
Okay, so I think at this point we're after, if there's no further questions of the board, we're after a motion to receive that report from Ms. Archer.
So moved.
For that,
Second,
Mary Rose,
Ken.
thank you. Ken,
Second,
thank you.
Ken.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Just as one little note there, Mary Lou, for you and I when we're planning our next meeting. So we're going to have some guests come in, and if you could just make note of that so we don't lose the thought, that'd be great. Okay. So we're on to item 7, and this is also good news here. So we got our monies from the Victim Support Grant. So $11,000 coming to our organization to help with that. Board members, would anybody like to comment on this initiative, or do we simply receive the information?
Move to receive.
Okay. Very
Great
good.
news, though. Thank you.
Yes. Mary Rose. Anybody else? Andy, thank you very much. Andy McIntosh. All in favor, board members?
Yes.
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 Ian, you good there? Is Ian still? Ian's on mute.
He's on mute.
I said yes, though, to myself.
Well, hopefully you were listening to yourself.
He was having a quick nap.
Yes. So this brings us to item 8, and Sarah, you're ready for blinding excitement here because this is the Ward report, and it's the highlight of our program. So I will turn it over to Inspector Ward for the Ward report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little disappointed. I thought you were going to have some type of musical interlude, like entrance kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
well,
tonight's the theme song was playing on my cell phone. I just couldn't get it up.
We'll work on that. We'll work on it. Okay, so we're going to touch on the first quarter, so January, February, March of 2022. I'm sure you've all had a chance to review it, so I'm not going to drag this on. If there's any questions at the end, by all means ask. We'll just touch on a few, like the first page talking about public complaints. We haven't had any, which is nice. Secondary employment, there's nothing there to report, which is nice. Going into the crime area, you'll see the violent crime stats. We've seen a bit of an uptake in the assaults, which again, we can link back to the fact that people are out and moving now. Restaurants are starting to open up. pubs are starting to open up, and we start to see that our assault calls start to increase. And again, compared to last year when most people were in lockdown, it's basically doubled. So, again, moving through, you see the robberies, and they're 3 this year as compared to none last year, which we touched on in closed. Again, they're basically drug related, and they're before the courts, and we've had some successes with charges on those. So it's some good work by our crime units and collaboration with York Region on some of them. Moving on, the other thing that jumps off the page when you move into the property crime area is the theft unders. Again, bit of an increase there. And again, we've had some uptake in unlocked vehicles being entered and some thefts in different areas. And again, we've tried to push that message out, right? The lock it or lose it, and making sure you lock your vehicles. And obviously some people are getting it and some people aren't, because we continue to see those go up. A little bit of a decrease in the frauds, but again, right, we still have that huge amount of fraud out there, the online and phone frauds, and they still continue. I actually had one call my work phone the other day and try to convince me to buy some stuff. Not really sure when it's coming. Anyway, mischiefs again. We've had some issues with some of the tagging and different things, and we've laid some charges in the process, and we're still have some investigations ongoing. Again, and I don't blame everything on it, everything opening up now, but we're starting to see some of the calls for service are starting to go up just for the fact that people are out and moving again. The public's moving, and that's going to create some issues. Moving into the drug crime stuff, I'm a big proponent of our community street crimes unit and some of the work that they're doing. The charges don't reflect, like this drug crime and what you're seeing here, 2 possession charges, doesn't reflect that the ongoing investigations that are currently going that I can't really report on, but I can tell you that there is a lot of good work being done in the background in the Orangeville area and in Orangeville itself with the drugs and property crimes. So we will see some positivity coming out of that for sure. This next one basically touches on all our charges throughout Dufferin County for the first quarter. And again, I always like to, the officers are the ones out there doing the job. And again, we're looking at 2,779 charges laid in the first 3 months of 2022. So again, that's a lot of charges that are going through, and we hope that, especially the provincial court aspect, that a lot of these, and I'm sure everyone's aware that some of the charges are getting thrown out because of JP issues, and Mayor Krillman's all over that. But there's a lot of, again, we have to focus my people on the fact that doesn't affect us, and we have to still do our job and go out, and if the charge is warranted, we lay the charge, and what happens in court happens in court. It's not the officers that dictate that. So,
could I ask a question on that point? I noticed that it says that all offences in Dufferin data, and I couldn't extrapolate from those numbers there what proportion of that referred to Orangeville. Is it about half with our population, or?
I would say probably less than half are out of Orangeville. Okay. You'll see when we get to some of the PON stuff moving through that the numbers are similar to last year, but as far as a lot of the big charges go, it's a mix throughout the entire county, really.
Right.
Yeah. Again, when it comes to the criminal stuff, I mean, Orangeville is a safe community, really. So we're pretty fortunate that way. Next, we go into the traffic file control registry, and as you see, these list all the motor vehicle collisions over the first quarter, their locations, the incident type, the primary cause. So again, I'm not going to go through every one of those, but you can see there's been a significant number of collisions within Orangeville, and those are strictly just in Orangeville. The chart basically tells us that, again, an uptake. Last year we had 64, and currently we're sitting at 124. So obviously, again, with the people out moving, driving back to work, traffic is increased, and with that goes an increase in motor vehicle collisions too. So the next one is into the part 1 summaries. So this is any charges that we laid, tickets. Basically, you can see for the first month compared to last year, now there's a bit of a decrease, and I'm gonna say that results in a higher compliance rate. We have a lot of visibility, a lot of movement out there, and I'm going to attribute those lower numbers because we haven't let off the gas, for lack of a better word. And so when I see that the numbers are down a bit, I'm really trying to say that the compliance is becoming higher, and people are kind of getting the message in some of the stuff that we're doing. I know that's going to get blown out of the water in the next few months when we start to get all our traffic complaints coming back in again. One of the things we have got out there right now, the black cats have been deployed, more on a test basis, because I've got 2 officers that are training in them and how to get the data and extract the data and everything. So we've kind of just put them up in a couple areas just to kind of test it. And then once they are confident in how to extract the data and get me what we need, then we'll definitely look at all our traffic complaints and where we had some issues last year, and we'll get them deployed. And we'll start to see, do we have problems, or are they perceived problems? If they're actual problems, we'll put resources on it, and we'll see what type we can get. If they're perceived problems, at least then we have data that we can go back to the complainants and say, this isn't as big an issue as you're making it out to be. So,
may I ask a question on that, Terry?
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, the black cats, I maybe didn't understand this initially, and I'm so excited they're here. So thank you for that update. But I heard that they don't work in super cold weather. Is that a misnomer, or what is?
No, that's true. They run off a battery, right? So it's no different than your cell phone or anything else. If they're in cold weather, the cold weather draws the power out of them, and so then they're only good for say a 24-hour period. Where we want to put them up for 36 plus hours, 48 hours is what we're trying to get legitimate data out of them, right? At least a 3 or 4 day deployment of them to get some solid data. And to put them out in the winter and only get a day or less than a day data really doesn't serve us any purpose.
So does that mean it's kind of an 8-month usage then? Like, is it 4 months of the year you can't, or? Yeah,
that's kind of what we're being told, is that, once spring comes and the weather starts to turn, we're good. And then we can push them right through probably till October, November, right? So,
Terry, a follow-up to that. What about the heat, the extreme heat? Like what we had last week. We had a lot of hot days with extreme heat. How are the black cats affected by that, the heat?
That's a good question, Ken. There's been nothing brought out to us in regards to the heat. They've more warned us about the cold and that it drains the batteries out and we don't get the usage out of them. It's a good question. I don't know. I guess we'll test them out and see what happens. If it does get another extreme heat this year, we'll see if they hold up or not. Just carrying on. So then the part 3 summaries are the over $500 charges. And again, right, we're consistent with what we were last year. And again, the first 3 months we've got 24. So we're still on target there to meet our benchmark of last year for those. False alarm, as you can see, there's numerous false alarms in the first quarter. So again, those are presented for whatever that the municipality decides to do. And finally, just some of the action plan results, just kind of the nice to knows, right? The foot patrol, we're at 125 hours, ride hours, 129.75. Trouble with youth occurrences, again, kind of a nice to know, 24. Again, as you can see, kind of the weather's getting nicer, so the youth are out and about a bit more. Mental health occurrences, 66 for the year to date for the first quarter. This is one of the things that, it's good to see. because again, like I said, we haven't let off the gas on looking for the impaired drivers, and it's good to see that, you know, we've only got 2 so far impaired. So, you know, fingers crossed that message is getting out there. And I think that's, barring any questions, that's my report for the first quarter, Mr. Chair.
It's amazing. Board members, any questions?
My only question, Todd, would be about the false alarms, where there were several repeats at several addresses, and I'm not sure how you deal with that. I mean, is it always an accidental false alarm, or is it, you know, lack of working them properly where they're situated?
Yeah, so
we don't differentiate. A false alarm is a false alarm, right?
Yeah.
It's not real, it's false. So for us, it just goes under that category as false alarm. And again, right, we're going to respond no matter what. If they end up doing the bylaw and charge back, then that's the municipality's choice. But as far as we go, we get the call, we're going to respond. And if it's false, it's false. We get the odd one too that the alarm holder sets it off and then calls us real quick to cancel. But I mean, once the alarm company calls it in, it's already collected as a call for service, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
To answer that, so just if I could be quick, and I'll rely on Mary Lou for a little bit of help here, but so the town is willing and able to follow through on these items, and Andrew McKinney has asked that we follow up with him. Ward, who followed back up and let us know that we could have the data from his department every 2 weeks, and I guess the connection needs to be made on my end back with the town with that information, and candidly, I just haven't had a chance to do that. So I'll provide that back to Ms. McKinney, and we'll see what we can get going on in terms of those false alarms. Mary Lou, do you see anything more to it than that, or did I miss something in terms of the details? I know you're all over this as well.
I think you covered it.
Okay. Inspector Ward, I just had one question for you, and I was curious, in terms of, I'm always interested in your incident report. So the number of calls for service, are they feel like they're elevated to me versus where we were anticipating. And I was going to go back and just check where I thought we were supposed to be based on projections at the beginning of the contract with OPP. Is it your sense that we're higher as a municipality, or are you feeling like that's kind of what you thought, or just I generally just like to get a sense from you every once in a while on how that's going?
I mean, comparable for me, I think we're on par. I get to see calls for service from other areas, and I mean, we are, and again, I don't want to jinx us, but we're on the mid to lower end of the number of calls for service coming in per shift. When you look even to the north, up to the Chatsworth, Grey County area, up into Wyerton, their calls for service as the beaches and that are double, sometimes triple per day to what we have.
Wow.
So I'm pretty happy with the number of calls, and I'm seeing it. And again, I know things are starting to open up. We're going to start to see the calls for service start to increase, especially on the weekends and different things. But the number of calls we've had overnight, when usually you expect your calls for service to ramp up, like on the Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, has been fairly consistent across the board, and on average, 20 to 30 calls a night. So to me, that's on the mid to lower scale, right?
Okay. So I think based on that, we should all feel good about that, right? Like it's kind of indicative of the community.
And again, also, it's my job, and especially with some of these mental health, and we can get this with the MCERT and everything to try and alleviate those calls for service, right? We want to see that those, the first calls we maybe get, but the second, third calls are the ones we don't want. We want them to go to other resources, not to the police. And it comes down to even these false alarm calls and different things, right? You may get one, but when you start to see repeat calls, that's, as a board and as a council and as a community, that's what we don't want to see. We don't want to see the repeat calls, right? We want to see the calls coming in as more, yeah, you're going to have those violent calls and those property crime calls, but we also want to start to see some proactive calls as well, that the officers have taken the initiative, right? So,
Gotcha. Board members, any other further comments for Inspector Ward?
Thank you.
No? Okay. Thank you very much, Inspector Ward. That's
Thank
great. I always enjoy that. I really do. I like the kid, but it's great to hear those updates. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, right, as I emphasize, you know, Orangeville is a great community, great people, and great officers doing a great job, right? The people I have now, I'm very impressed with their commitment to the community, and I mean it shows. And that's what we want to build, right? We want to keep building that morale and keeping that community spirit going, and it falls to the board, right? You guys are all engaged as well, and continue to be involved, and with Mary Lou's help with the grant stuff, and we're becoming a well-oiled machine, and there's nowhere to go but up, and that's where we want to go. So.
Great. That's great. Well, with the world loosening up, I completely agree. Like, and I mean, in terms of pandemic, it's everybody's looking forward to being out and about and interacting with you and your team, and I think it's excellent. So thank you, sir.
I'll just add one more thing, and I totally forgot. I'm sure Andy would have reminded me, but we launched our Project Safe Trade today. It was kind of a hiccup on my part. I wanted to include all the board, and then all of a sudden some other stuff came in, and all of a sudden Jen was on me today that we got to get this picture taken and get this launched because it's police week, right? And we're already at Tuesday. And so anyway, we reached out to Andy this morning, so he came over, and we were able to get a picture, and it's good to have that out there now for everybody. That Project Safe Trade was based off of back years ago when some people were making a transaction online over a vehicle, and they ended up coming, and it resulted in a murder. And so so now what's happened is we have this place at our detachment now, a parking spot that if people want to do an online transaction, they can come to our office, to the detachment, use that parking space, and make their transaction in our parking lot, and feel safe about making that transaction. If they're not quite comfortable having someone come to their house, or they can meet that and have it at our office and feel that safety. So that's up and launched starting today.
Are those parking spots designated then? Are they painted, or is there a sign up?
So we have one spot. It's designated with a sign on the pavement. And
we're all going to be wondering now.
Freezing up.
Oh, yeah, I just lost you a little bit there, Terry. Sorry. You had one spot, and then you kind of cut out a little bit.
Oh, so there's one designated spot, and it has a marking on the pavement itself, and then a marking on the pole.
Good.
That's great. Well, you got our most photogenic member of the police service board. So, I think that's
way to go, Andy.
Yeah, I was hardly awake. Yeah.
Okay, so board members, can we have a motion to receive the ward report?
So
Andy,
Ken.
thank you. Ken, thank you for seconding. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So number 9 is the Neighborhood Watch Program, and this was actually brought forward by 2 residents, and one of them is kind enough to join us on the call here today. So Sarah, thank you so much for having patience with us and joining us in this meeting. And then my favorite community policing officer is also joining us. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on, and you were going to educate us a little bit about what the Neighborhood Watch Program could be, or community safety program could be for Orangeville. So yes. I'll turn it over to yourself, so thank you.
Thank you. Mary Lou, do I have permission to share my screen?
Oh, you're on mute, Mary Lou.
Yes, you should be able to, Jennifer.
Okay, it's not coming up on my options. Is that open share tray?
It should be right beside leave. So just to the left of leave, there's a little arrow up. Do you have that?
Yep.
Don't press the leave button.
No.
No.
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
No.
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 Oh dear. Okay.
Two of the most popular vernaculars now is "you're on mute" and "can you see my screen?"
No doubt.
I think there's a common denominator here. Anytime Chair Taylor's around, nothing works for us, because that happened at the Optimist Club too.
That's right. Yes, the joke there is Jennifer and Terry came out to an Optimist meeting and none of the technology worked. So it's a very trying evening.
Okay,
Well,
my
we did
screen.
go out to the Lions Club and had 0 issues.
Do you want to email it to Jennifer and one of us could run it for you?
I could. Who would you like me to email it to?
I could run it if you'd like.
Sure.
It's, justttaylor@orangeville.ca.
Okay, I just have to launch my Outlook here.
I know it'll be worth it. Hey, board members, while we're waiting, why don't we move to item 10, because I think we could do this fairly quickly, if you'll indulge me. So this is legal bills to be approved to be paid. And it's a payment in the amount of $1,347. These have been previously approved by the board, but I just wanted to receive them in open council if we could. Could we do that while we wait?
Just need to revise what you said the amount was.
Oh,
57.
1357. I'm sorry, 1357. Thank you, Mary.
I would move that.
Okay, very good. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Okay, Ian, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Very good. So we got through that.
We can probably get through 11 too, right?
Jennifer, do you want us to keep going for a sec? I don't have it yet.
You don't have it yet? Okay, it's sent. So sure, keep going if that works for you.
Okay. So item 11 is, it's just coming in now. Thank you to the board and OPP reference ride checks. And this is from the president of Orangeville Hydro, Rob Coco, who was just, wanting to share his compliments for the OPP and the service for running the ride programs and helping to ensure that basically the town was safe. Because in the past we've had, people under the influence hit hydro poles and cause issues for the entire town. So he just wanted to share how impressed he was, and I thought that was worthwhile sharing in this format. So thank you to Mr. Coco. Any board member would like to comment on that item? No, seeing none. Can I have a motion to receive it?
So move, Ken.
Ken, and a seconder if we could.
I will.
Okay, Mary, thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. I'm just going to share. I'm going to move right in to this now. There we go. Everybody see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Jen, I will hand it back to you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So we call it the Community Watch Program, but all the signs that are listed there should be fairly familiar. The Road Watch, Neighborhood Watch. Rural Watch was actually new to me. I didn't know that there was such a thing, but these are all programs that are community led and police supported. And they can be implemented anywhere there's a need to reduce crime or there's an opportunity for crime. And there has to be an adequate number of community volunteers that agree to form a community watch program. Or sorry, community watch committee. Next slide, please, Todd. Thank you. So what is Community Watch? It's a grassroots crime prevention program, and it's a partnership between the community and the police. And basically, it's the eyes and ears of the police service. What it's not is citizens on patrol. It's not a vigilante group. It's not a gossip channel for people to talk about weird neighbors. And it's not for people that want to channel their inner Gladys Kravitz. That was for you, Todd.
I think it was Ian that was amazed at
Oh,
that.
that's right. It was Ian that liked that.
It was for me.
Reference.
But Todd really is rather Abner-like.
So why do we need this? One of the main reasons that they developed this program was to counteract the urban mindset of, you know, if you mind your business, I'll mind mine. That doesn't work for anybody. All that does is create opportunity for crime. This also combats kind of our rural problem of unlocked doors. You know, people think that they're very comfortable here, and as well they should be. It is a safe community, but unlocked doors equal opportunity, and people will go out and enter cars, houses that are unlocked, and that's been just as detrimental as the urban mindset of minding your own business. Does it work? It absolutely works, because it creates an environment that makes it difficult for criminals to operate. So basically with crime, we have a triangle, and in that triangle is opportunity at one end, ability at another, and desire at the other corner. This takes opportunity away. If there's no opportunity, it's very difficult for there to be crime. This also is Community Watch equals community engagement. And this is one of my favorite slides, because this really showcases how safe Orangeville is. Because if it wasn't a safe community, or in the community engagement model, if it didn't fall into the green area of low crime, we really wouldn't be able to do this. So by recognizing the role in the community safety partnership, residents are able to take ownership and contribute to a safer and healthier community. This also reduces calls for service for repeat property crimes, like our thefts from unlocked vehicles. It also educates community members in basic crime prevention. It mobilizes residents to take ownership of their community. It increases reporting of suspicious activity and crime, and it also builds bridges between the residents, the police, the municipal government, and local agencies. So community engagement in its true form is a police action. It supports and encourages citizen participation in increasing their own safety. And we're very lucky that when you're in that green zone, it means that citizens have the capacity to actually take a lot of this into their own hands and resolve a lot of the issues that can threaten their safety. With the green zone, this is also where we look to the natural community leaders, like everybody that's participating in this meeting tonight. And you can also help to mobilize your residents and get them engaged and involved in a program like this. Next slide, please. Now, the core part of this program that is the community commitment. Without community volunteers to run the Community Watch program, we can't do it. I mean, the police will still support residents that want to be involved, but as far as having a Community Watch program, we need a certain amount of volunteers. Now, Sarah, this is a pared down presentation. For an actual group that's interested, there's like 40 slides, so I did pare it down for this meeting, but it gives an awful lot more information about how to develop a program. So we can chat about that at another time if you have enough people that are interested in this.
Absolutely. Is that something you'd be able to forward to me?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. The benefits of this is enhanced awareness, getting to know what's normal in your community so that you'll easily be able to identify what isn't normal. Citizens receive training in basic crime prevention and target hardening techniques. what they mean by getting to know what's normal in your area is, so if you know that your neighbors aren't home, like if there's that kind of communication amongst your neighborhood, and you see a white van parked outside your neighbor's house, but they told you they were going to be gone for the weekend, that's where you would get suspicious and make that phone call to the non-emerge line with the OPP and tell them, because there's no harm in reporting something like that. If you see strange activity, you'll know to report it. Build a strong communication network between the community and the police and within your community watch group, because the only way it can work is to have the open channels of communication. And it creates a sense of empowerment so people don't feel victimized and helpless. They can work together with their neighbors to create a safer community, to take their own safety into their own hands and target hard in their own homes. Sorry, next slide, please, Todd.
Off of Bennett's? What, is that what you want? Apologize.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. So why report crime? Not all crime is reported to the police. Some is undetected and much is unreported, probably as much as 65% according to the statistics that they've given us. Common reasons that people don't report: embarrassment, fear of retribution. A lot of people don't want to bother the police and they don't want to be thought of as nosy. This hopefully would give people enough knowledge to know that they don't have to worry about those things. And the benefits of reporting crime or suspicious activity is huge. It creates an intelligence network amongst the neighborhood. It gives the police intelligence to work on, so our crime analysts can map data. The police can get a better picture of what's going on in the community, which translates into more enforcement and visibility. I'm sure this group, I know Todd has heard me say this a million times, that calls for service create data. What we can operate on is a series of anecdotes, that things that may have happened one time, or, well, one time I heard. We can't deal with that. We need data, and anecdotes don't create data. So calls for service create data, and data creates intelligence, and that data drives our work. That's a huge benefit of this program, is an increase of intelligence that we can develop our work from. And what types of crime would a community watch group report? All crime: property crime, violent crime, crimes occurring right now, crimes which have already occurred, or ongoing suspicious activity. And a big question we always get asked is, what number do I call? So you call 911 when it's a life-threatening emergency, and the non-emergency number for everything else, the 1-888-310-1122. Next slide, please, Phil.
Is there an acronym on that 1122? It's probably a silly question, but I never remember that number either. Is there, does it stand for anything? Did you ever?
Well, because the one doesn't have any letters to it.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great if it, phone Gen double N or something.
Yeah, right.
Understood.
Sorry?
Understood. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Reduce the opportunity for crime to occur. So identifying suspicious activity in the neighborhood, being aware of local crime trends, and sharing techniques for making personal property less desirable to burglars. These are all things that we would go over with the watch group, and then these are all things that you would discuss amongst yourselves, and just make your group more cohesive and stronger. Next slide, please. So I always laugh at the title on this one, the Take Your Community Back from Crime Together. We haven't lost our community. You guys, like this, it's a good community. It's a very safe community. We really don't have break and enters. They're a very rare occurrence throughout Dufferin County. But when they do happen, unless somebody's caught in the act, they're one of the most difficult crimes that we face, because unless you have cameras, watchful neighbors, it's pretty hard for us to to track down who's done it if they haven't left any like real hard evidence behind, if they're pros. So when citizens take positive steps to secure their own property and their neighbor's property, break-in enters and related offenses decrease dramatically because we've removed the opportunity corner of the crime triangle. And the other slides are basically the brochures for our Project Safeguard. What Safeguard is, we'll have auxiliaries trained in this program, and they can come and municipal policing, we called it CEPTED, the crime prevention through environmental design. This is the same, but a little bit more in depth. So they'll come to your house, they'll help you target harden. If you have a cottage property, they can come and look at your cottage property and help you come up with ideas on how to close it up and make it safe. It's actually a really good program. And also what CEPTA didn't have is within 2 days of a break and enter, the auxiliaries are supposed to attend the house and just provide some support and some ideas for making it a little bit more safe moving forward. And that is it for my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, let's see if I can get out of that. Guess I want to stop sharing, don't I? There we go. How's that? It's excellent. So board members, guests, does anybody have any further questions for Jen?
I have one.
Yes, please, Mary.
Hi, Jen. I just wondered if the people who are volunteer to be part of this group, do they have to have a police check to be a member of the group?
I don't believe so, because it's not they're just chatting with their neighbors. It's just a neighborhood group, and like there's no instance where they would be around anybody vulnerable or handling money or anything like that. They're just keeping an eye on each other.
Okay.
You make it so hard for me not to make a comment, Mary, when you say that, eh? I was going to say, well, you'll be okay, Mary. We'll get you through it.
I think I passed mine.
Just, if I may, to you, Sarah, are you, and you're on mute if you're going to respond, so you have to unmute, but not to put pressure on you, but I'm just curious what you think your next steps might be. And I guess it'll be a grassroots initiative. And is there things that, what's your next steps? What's your thoughts as you sit here today?
Yeah, I'm sorry if you hear kids and a dog in the background. That's why I've kept muted a little bit there. It's a little noisy in my house. Yeah, I would love to just reach out to the community and see if we have some more interest. I had told Todd that I was raised in Orangeville. My husband was raised in Orangeville. We're raising our 3 kids in Orangeville. But I have noticed, and maybe it's also just the stages as my children are getting a little bit older and having a little bit more independence. I'm noticing a lot more issues with youth. So those kind of, I'm going to say grade 7 on. And it might just be our home is located near Every Kids Park. And I think that tends to be an area where we see a lot of issues. And just talking to people in the community, it seems like other people have noticed it a bit more too. So I'd love to just reach out to other parents, other community members. I'm the program manager at Branching Out Support Services. So we also sometimes hear a lot of what's happening. Like we have a good ear to the ground there. But I feel like lots of people want to keep the community. It is safe. And we want to kind of keep it that way. So I'm happy to do whatever we can. And I know that within our program, we have some participants who would be happy to get involved in some way or another, even if it's just giving people information on keeping their property safe. That might be a great way to get some of the participants involved too. So I'll get in touch with you, Jennifer, and then we can kind of maybe figure out what the next step is and how I can help with that.
Sure, that sounds good. I know when you see the program, it does look a little bit daunting on paper with the way they have the organization set out, and it does require a few people in kind of closer proximity. So just so if that drives your the interest of people a little bit more.
Okay. Very good. Well, Sarah, if there's anything that the Police Services Board can do to help as well, we'd certainly be interested in the progress that you're making. And it sounds like, in all honesty, these things usually work best when it's grassroots, you know, because the public likes the public, as opposed to making it about a council or a board. But certainly love to stay in touch and find out what you're up to. And how
Thank you so much for the invite, and it was great hearing the first part of that and just getting to hear what's going on in the community. So thank you everyone for all your work and keeping our community safe. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's so
Have
good.
a great night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay, so board members, I apologize here. I've already flipped on. Did we do a motion to receive there? I apologize. I don't think we did we?
We didn't, no.
No. Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion to receive that report.
So moved.
Mary Rose.
Second, Ken.
Second, Ken. Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And so just to keeping score here at home, we've done 10, 11. We're on to 12. I think we'll gain a little bit of speed here. So this is the special remunerations claims. The claims are listed on this form, just in speaking with our credo of being public whenever there's taxpayers' money. Those are the events that were initiated and the payments received, and looking for this board to approve those payments.
Can I approve of the question?
Certainly.
I just wanted to know, is it necessary to have so many pieces of paper, so to speak, or so many things? Like, for instance, you and Ian or whoever goes to a special meeting, could it not all be on one form instead of one piece for every item that we attend? Is that not possible to modify it slightly?
That's so, if I might, Mr. Chair, Mary, that's the way our special remuneration policy is set up.
Right.
That's the form, that's the template. It's.
Oh, I'm fine with it. If that's the answer, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just the way it's set up as an attachment to the policy. We're not wedded to it. If you have a better idea, we can talk about it, but it's kind of working. It's not a lot of paper. It's just an individual form. And the idea is that it gives the board an opportunity to review it claim by claim.
Thank you. That's good. I did move that, by the way.
Very good. Can we have a seconder for this? Andy, thank you very much, sir. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, very good. And then this is the item 13 is where we are, April 22nd, the joint meeting of the Dufferin County Police Services Boards. So I guess we could give a little bit of update. The main piece was just covered off. There was an excellent presentation done by Jennifer at that meeting, talking about the community safety update. And I feel like I came in halfway through that meeting. Member McSweeney, would it be okay if I turn this section over to yourself for a little update?
Sure.
Things on here that you wanted to share that happened in that first hour?
Yeah, I think so. Just okay, so I'm live. Yeah, I mean, so once again, this is a joint meeting of a number of boards. There is no entity called a joint board of police service boards. So it really just is a get together of a number of police service boards, and then meetings are kept. So it's fairly informal in terms of, the way it's structured that way, but for posterity, minutes are kept. This is the agenda, and at the next meeting, the minutes from this meeting will be posted, and we'll post them as well at our next meeting. So Dwayne Sprague, the ministry representative, gave a bit of an update on the new Police Service Act, the CSPA, and just as a refresher, that piece of legislation initially received royal assent back in March of 2019. No proclamation date has been set. I think the government has been busy trying to put together regulations needed to support the legislation before proclaiming, and that has been delayed for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the pandemic. So at some point earlier this year, I think the government told the individuals looking at the regulations that it was pens down and that they would deal with it after the election. The current view from Dwayne anyway, and I think it's just a personal opinion, is that this is not likely going to get done much before June of next year. So we're going to be, and it's not horrible news. I mean, they need to get it right, and before the legislation gets proclaimed, they definitely need to be in a position where they're ready to roll out regulations to support it. So that may be a moving target, but that's the latest intel from the government. We're looking at another year under the current Police Service Act. Just picking up on something that Terry said earlier, John Curlman, the mayor, John's the mayor of Mono, I think. Is that right?
That's
Terry?
correct.
Yeah. So Terry mentioned he is championing this cause of the provincial offences and the delays being caused within the court system, which are causing some of the cases to be thrown out. And it's a constitutional issue. I think it's Section 11 of the Charter gives everyone a right to a speedy trial. So smart lawyers will pick up on that and will, if it's been long enough, and I don't know if there's a magic date, but we'll go before the courts and say, on the basis of my client's charter rights being infringed, I want this thrown out, and courts are doing it. There's lots of precedent for it, and so that's unfortunate because the reason for the delays is simply the number of judges available for some not really understandable reasons. But John's got his finger on those reasons. For those reasons, there aren't enough judges to be able to hear these cases, so they get pushed. So during the joint meeting, Dwayne recalled that the OAPSB had at some point produced a document on this, and couldn't remember when it was, but I dug it out. It's Provincial Offences Act Unpaid Fines, a $1 billion problem. And that study was done back in 2011. So I shipped that over to John after the meeting and told him if he needed any assistance in dealing with the government on this, I was happy to lend a hand. But I'm very comforted to know that he is on this because this is an important topic. And you know, the police are not, Terry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the police are not laying charges in anticipation of this problem. They are doing what they need to do, what they always do to protect the community from crime and lay charges that are warranted. But those charges then are sort of demoralizing. Those charges are then going through the system, and a lot of them are being thrown out. So it's a real problem. The government is live to it, and I think that I have a lot of confidence in John being able to try to elevate this to the attention of those that need to be aware of it, to put together a solution. There was a discussion on towing, the towing bylaw, and I understand that I think the Orangeville bylaw, and I can't remember, Andy and Todd, whether the Orangeville bylaw is now in place.
It has not come to council yet. I did speak with our clerk, and my understanding is that is imminent. So it could very well be on the next meeting, but it was within days after that meeting. It was supposed to be published. So anytime now, it'll be out.
Oh, okay, that's good. So there was a discussion about that. Just looking at my notes that I made on the agenda. There There was a ward report, which was very interesting, but I think Terry has very ably given us the gist of it and more today. The next joint meeting is, I think, was postponed off to January.
Whoa.
And I think Mono is going to host it.
The thinking there was it's a transition year, and the timing based on summertime and then elections, folks just weren't comfortable. So, and then after the election, November, December, you won't necessarily have the same boards in place because it'll take a little bit of time to get the boards in place. So it's really summer election transition has caused such a gap in terms of when that next meeting will be.
And Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, as I was talking, I was sort of thinking the idea came to me. It might not be a bad idea if there's interest within the community of inviting John Kerlin to one of our next public meetings, so he can give us a little report about the status of this Provincial Offences Act issue.
He's the guy. So that was his
it.
background prior, and he knows
Yep.
the cold. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be willing to give us a few minutes. So
because that billion dollar problem in 2011 has exponentially increased 10 years later.
yeah. Yeah, Mary Lou, is that something? Can we put that in our notes for next time as well? I think that's a great suggestion.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. Terry, do you have anything to add to that, or do you think, I feel like that was a pretty good synopsis of what went on there?
Yeah, Ian remembers a lot more of it than I do.
Hey, if I may, to you, Inspector Ward, how do you feel about those meetings? Is that it's probably easier for you because now you're addressing your entire catchment area as opposed to having to have these unique individual meetings. Is it of value to you, those? Like, what's your thoughts on the process?
Yeah, I kind of enjoy them. It's kind of tough to isolate what I'm reporting on, because you try to do it as a group, like something that affects everybody. Because if you get into individual, then I've got 7, could be 8 potentially areas that you're trying to report on different things to. So you try to keep it to the group. Here's what our traffic management unit's doing. Here's what resources we're bringing to the county. Here's what. So yeah, it's good. And it's good to hear everybody, especially when we have some of those guest speakers, like when Dwayne comes and some of that. It's kind of, I find that kind of interesting as well.
I do too. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you for your comments. All right. So is there any questions, board members, or are we okay?
Good.
All right. So we have a motion to receive that report from
So
Member
moved.
McSweeney. Mary Rose. Andy, you blink. Andy seconds. All in favor? Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Yes. Very good. So that brings us on to item 14, which is the PSB website review. And our good friend, Mary Lou, has been working diligently on this. So I will turn it over to you, Mary Lou, a little update on what's happening with that site.
Okay. Would you like me to share my screen and we'll have a little look at it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just give me a minute
Now,
to bring that up.
I think we have some homework to do as a board too, right? There's some things that we need to give to you and, to get this thing.
Yes.
Okay.
We have content now. We just need to spruce it up and perhaps, just having trouble bringing it up here. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Share my screen. Okay, I'm going to ask the proverbial question. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So first off, we have the Orangeville Police Service Board logo. It was a much larger image that was out of focus, so able to clean that up a little bit. But I don't think that's what ideally we want on our landing page. I think a nice group picture of the Police Services Board, or having a scroll through of various pictures of perhaps the OPP interacting with the public, board members interacting with the public. Even to start with, Terry, I don't know if you could help us out with a nice detachment picture or pictures of cruisers, officers. It'd be really nice to showcase some nice pictures here of our police service and our board. Is that something we can get from you, Terry?
Yeah, absolutely. You just tell me what you need and we'll get it.
Okay, super. Another thing that I thought would be nice on this landing page is a welcome to this landing page by not only the chair of the Police Services Board, but of the detachment commander. There's a great example on Wellington OPP's or Wellington's Police Services Board website where they have a nice welcome from the detachment commander, as well a welcome from the chair. So that's something to consider. I'd like to spruce this site up. From a content standpoint, I think it's pretty solid, but we need to spruce it up with some nice pictures. That's what people want to see. Yeah. I did, for now, remove the pictures of the board members because I was hoping that I could get professional pictures taken of each of the board members with a similar background, similar size photo. They were kind of all over the map. And I've asked the town communications person if they would assist us in doing some professional photos. The photographer is off right now, but will be coming back, and we will be able to get those photos. I'll keep you posted on that, but just keep that in mind. And then the big piece was cleaning up the agendas and minutes and putting them in a pleasing way to be able to view them if required. So this required a review of all the minutes, making sure they're accessible, and then putting them back on the website in an organized fashion. So I'm happy to say that all 2021, 2022 agendas that have been approved and minutes that have been approved are now posted on the website.
Good.
This is outstanding. Like,
yes.
This is fantastic. So really, really happy with that. It's been a challenge for us to get this going, and that's amazing, Mary Lou. Thank you very much. It's great to see it there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
My pleasure. And now we'll just build on this. The one question I had in discussion with Ian is how far back do we want to show archived minutes? And, you know, do we want to go back to the term of this board? I know that I can probably access minutes back to 2018.
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts, everyone. I think what we should do is keep it to what this board has done, and anything prior to that. I don't know that we need to do that at this point. The entire, policing within our town has changed significantly, right? So I'm not sure it's relevant to go back further at this point, and I think that would be my take.
I agree, Todd.
Any other board members have perspective on that question?
Through you, Todd. So Mary Lou, we talked about this a little bit. I agree that we would go back to the end of 2018. We could do it through a hyperlink that would, so we don't really need a lot of space with this list. We keep this list limited to a 2-year rolling list. And as you can see from looking at this, where we don't have a meeting in a month, it's helpful simply to mention that month and then indicate no meeting so people know what's going on.
And that's great.
Good.
Here's the question. Well, how long do we keep the minutes on the website? Is there like a procedure we wait 2 or 3 or 4 years and they drop after they've been put on?
Well, that's what we were just saying, Ken.
Yeah, I was going to say, so in the next board, Because if we're going back
Archive.
to 2018, okay.
And some, they don't disappear. I mean, we should talk about that. They don't disappear just because they're not on the website. I mean, I suppose what the board could think about is whether if there's an interest from the public to look at public minutes from previous periods that aren't on the current rolling 2 years or the hyperlinked link back to the beginning of the current board's mandate. We could, I mean, you could have, a note that says if anyone's interested in reviewing the public minutes for prior years, contact the board secretary, and we have them. That's probably the best way of handling it. That way we can tidy up this site so it only really refers to 4 years at any one time.
Good.
So maybe you can add some wording around that.
Yes.
Mary Lou, is there other areas that we should look at?
I don't think so at this point. I think from a content standpoint, we're pretty good. I have to add the archived minutes back to then the end of 2018 as I get to that. And we're going to spruce it up with some great pictures. And I'm going to reach out to Terry to help us with that. And as things open up, we'll be able to get some of our own pictures too. But in the interim period, if Terry can help me out with some pictures through his communications unit, then that'd be great.
Okay. And on the photographer, Mary Lou, is that something you're leading? Like we're just going to sit and wait, we'll hear from you kind of thing? Is that what your thoughts are?
Yes, I'm not sure when that person is back to work or available. I also understand that they have arranged with another photographer that upon the completion of the election, they're coming in and doing professional photos of all the council members. And again, I asked, well, if that professional photographer could take pictures of board members for us as well. And they said yes. So it's a wait and see.
That's great. Okay, very good. Super excited about that. Honestly, it's a relief. So thank you for your work. Okay, board members, can I have a motion to receive this report from Mary Lou?
So moved.
Mary Rose, Andy McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So Zone 5, this meeting is up and coming. We've got the attached materials. Member McSweeney, is there anything you want to say about this in advance of it, or is it just, hey, it's coming and it'll be on a future report?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can attend. There was some discussion at the outset that this would be a return to an in-person meeting in Waterloo. I think after the members were canvassed, there were sufficient numbers of members who were uncomfortable with that. So it's going to be electronic.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to attend on the board is certainly free to do it. I've structured the motion so that the board is authorizing me to go, but if anyone else wants to go, it's easy to click on. And then I'll report at the next meeting.
Could I ask 4 questions of Ian?
4?
Yes, sorry. Ian, on the agenda.
Hey, will you do them one at a time, or are you going to do them
one at a time? On the agenda, number 6, could you just very briefly say what 6.1 training and 6.2 provincial appointments means?
I suspect what it means is Dwayne is going to be asked to talk about board training and where that is in terms of the new legislation, and provincial appointments, probably an update from the Solicitor General's office with respect to the timing of provincial appointments that are caught by the election. But I don't know. I mean, that's just speculation, Mary. I think that's likely what it will be. He gave a similar report at the joint meeting, and I will report to the board at our next meeting when I actually know.
Question 2, do we as a board submit a report to be included in their minutes?
We don't, we are, if the board wants to appear on the agenda and on a topic or deliver a report, we can certainly do that, though.
Okay.
I know
Three.
it's interesting, Mary. I suspect we might think about that in terms of our board policy project, but it's early days for that.
Okay. That item that's called in capitals LEARN about records retention toolkit, do we need to look into that? But you were the one that wrote with Todd all the details about records retention. Do we need to be involved in any way?
Not at this point. I think there's sufficient interest among the Zone 5 members at looking at the way, and I think I've reported on this before, looking at the way in which police service boards retain and keep their records, and what retention policies they have, and how they work the relationship between records retention and their various municipalities. But there's not any common ground, and some Zone 5 members hadn't even thought of it before. So I think there was a level of interest to try to figure out whether there was some sort of standard approach that could apply.
And last question, is Andy going to the conference on May the 26th?
Andy McIntosh?
Yes.
No.
Because I think I did say to you that if Andy wasn't able to go, that I would go in his place. But I had also said I've already had one conference under my belt in the 3 or 4 years, so I didn't know what anybody thought.
I think that'd be great if you could go, Mary.
But I don't know anything about it at this point.
It's the one at the airport. So Lisa McDonald would be the source of information there. She's the Zone 5 director on the OAPSB.
Okay, well, I'll see if I can connect with her then. See, I'm really concerned about what the cost is. That's my thing. But I'll try to find that out. Thank you, Ian.
So you'll contact her yourself then, Mary?
I'll see if I can. I don't know how to contact her, but I'll look at the lists and see if I can find her.
Okay. And if you, sorry.
ML, I'm wondering if you have her contact. I can send it to you. Mary. I can send it. I can send it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Mary, if you decide you want to go and there's a cost, we can do that through board resolution, right? So you let us know what your intentions are and we'll get you approval pretty quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Ian, did you want to say something else?
Or? Well, the cost isn't very onerous, but I'm content that we can do it by written resolution.
Yeah, that's
calling
okay.
Meeting, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's great. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I think we're good there, right? So we're on to May serve. Did I do it? Mary Lou, do I owe you? I'm sorry, I'm so into this meeting. Do I owe you? Yeah, I do. Okay,
yes.
So we have a motion to receive that report. My apologies.
So moved.
Mary Rose, seconder. Anyone? Andy McIntosh. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So we're on to the May service standards, and I have to say I think we did incredibly well for May in terms of our service standards. I don't know. How do we want to report this, ladies and gentlemen? So we've hit our dates. We didn't miss anything. Followed through and A+. Mary Rose?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think this is a very useful document for the public. I mean, it shows how we've done pre-meeting up until today.
Yeah.
And I think it's useful for you to report that we've hit all our targets. The second half of the service standards, of course, are what we do post-meeting. And I'm certainly confident that Mary Lou will keep us on the straight and narrow path for that as well. But we will be doing this every month. So every month we have a meeting. There'll be a pre-meeting build-up with target dates and deadlines, and then there'll be a post-meeting set of deadlines that all key off our service standards policy.
Yeah, I was a bit intimidated. I didn't want to miss my dates. Mary Lou runs a sharp ship, so I hit
That's
it.
That's the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, agreed. Mary Rose, do you want to speak on
a question? The only thing I thought that was missing, and yes, it is an A+ document, wonderful, great information. There's nothing on there about you asking the rest of the board if we've got anything that we would like to include on the agenda.
You know, Mary Rose, my apologies. That is on me. I used to do that, and I don't know what's happened. I don't think I've done it the last couple meetings, and my apologies.
Fine.
So, no, it's not fine. You're absolutely right, though. So I've been keeping the agendas as we go and then circulate, but it used to be more of a feeder system, and you're right. So we'll make that as, if we can add that as a step in here somewhere, Mary Lou, as part of it. It's probably right around the time that I submit to you my items, and maybe 48 hours in advance of that, we ask the rest of the board for input or ideas that they would like covered as well. That'd be good. You know what? Shame on me. So thank you very much, Mary Rose. Appreciate that.
We might be able to do it, Mr. Chair, by not making any real change to the way the service standards are worded, but just once we have a draft of the agenda, send that draft out to the board. They can look at it and give comments.
I think that's excellent. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
So, motion to receive May service standards.
So moved.
Andy McIntosh, Ian McSweeney, second. Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Action register review. There's a lot of projects on this list. Lots of things going on and lots of things accomplished.
Mr. Chair, if I might
yeah.
just, because we haven't, this isn't, the action register was an item for in camera that we haven't got to yet because we had to break for the public meeting. So the purpose of this, just going forward, and I know that we haven't talked about this as a board, but we will, but this is Mary Lou and I have talked about this a number of times. So we will have an action register that lists all of the board projects, some of which will be in-camera projects, some of which will be public projects. And we will, each time we touch that register, we will, when it comes to the public meeting and the public reporting, we will either decide that there's nothing on that register that can't be disclosed to the public, or we will, through a yellow highlighting system, highlight what's on the action register as being sensitive, and then we will delete that from the public disclosed version. That's sort of how Mary Lou and I were thinking this would run, and then we would deal with it in camera as an action register, and then we would be able to also deal with it in public.
Mm-hmm.
And that way the public knows, other than the in-camera items, the public, and even the in-camera items, we could identify the item, without a level of detail that's going to compromise the confidentiality. And then the public knows what projects we're working on and the general nature of them.
Okay. I mean, that's great. Can we have a motion to receive that? Oh, excuse me. Does anybody else like to comment on that prior to moving forward? No, seeing none. Can I have a motion to receive that report?
So moved.
Mary Rose.
Second, Ken.
Ken, thank you, sir. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is item 18, and this is something that Member McIntosh and I can update on. Member McIntosh, did you want to speak to this item, or?
Just that it passed the council. They've been audited, and they're on their way.
Yeah, and as I understand it now, so Spencer was approved, right, Andy? And we heard last night as well is there was additional items ordered as well. And one of the thoughts was at the time, and it didn't get implemented, but I think over time it may go on future streets. And as an example, I think College maybe.
College was mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good news, right? And that came from this board and was adopted by council, and now it's being implemented. So it's kind of exciting. Anyway, so That's the update there, I think. Hey, Andy, did you have anything further? Or?
No, that was it.
That's good. Okay, very good. So motion to approve that report.
So moved.
Member Rose, Member McIntosh, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Return to in-person meetings. This item was discussed previously and closed, and what this team has agreed is that we would allow for in-person meetings again, with a few caveats. One is that it will also be electronic, so it'll be available inclusive for those who are not comfortable that they could still phone in electronically. And yours truly, the chair, is to follow up with town staff to inquire about the use of council chambers. And Andy, maybe it makes more sense instead of me doing it, since you're on the hydro board. I wonder, and I'm changing this a little bit as we go, but I wonder if that might be your follow-up, and then you and I can compare notes. But the secondary follow-up is as a backup plan, could we use the hydro board meeting room? And maybe if I do the town and you do the hydro, then we can compare notes, and we'll report back at a future date about when that can be. Town council chambers will be eligible at some point. They're just waiting for a part for communications, for enhanced communications. And once that's in, town council will be back in, and I'm sure this board will be in there as well, provided the time and space is available. So that is the update. Any members of the board want to comment on that publicly, or do you think I've got that succinctly?
Very good.
Okay, can I have a motion to receive that report?
So
Member
moved.
Rose, Member McSweeney, second. All in favor? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and my apologies. Inspector Ward was involved in that process, and you were aligned to those things too, sir. So I just make sure the public is aware of that part of the decision-making process. Revised Zone 5 directory. So we have the most recent update as of March of 2022. Is there anything on this that board members would like to speak to?
Mr. Chair, just that is part of the materials that were included under item 15 as well. So just if people are looking for that directory, that's where it is.
Okay, and that's simply an FYI. Any members want to speak to this? Any questions at this time? No, seeing none, we don't require a motion for this item. So we're on to item 21, which is the approval of the public meeting minutes from March. So yes, can I have a motion to approve those public meeting minutes?
So moved.
Member,
Mr. Chair, do I have to abstain because I had left at 5:30? I only was there until the ward report during that meeting. I had to recuse myself.
Sure, I think that's probably appropriate.
Okay.
So we make note of that, Mary Lou?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. So we're looking for a seconder, Ian or Andy. Andy, thank
Yes.
you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that
Sorry,
brings
I missed
us
the seconder. That was Ian?
Yes.
Either one.
Yeah. This brings us to item 22, which is question period. And Mona, your exciting time. Do we have any questions this time? I don't think we do.
Through you, Chair, currently no one is on the line.
Mona, that is the best no one is on the line that we've ever had. Okay, so that will mean that 23 through 26 is taken care of. And that brings us on to new business. Members, any items of new business to cover off and open?
Mr. Chair, last meeting before
Yes.
I left, I mentioned about compensation for board members. As we're aware that the OPP won't be meeting as much. So in the past, me and yourself have been on council remuneration committees where we determine compensation for the next term of council. You may remember those days, Todd, way back when.
Yeah.
So my question is, if the OPP, if we're moving towards, let's say, 4 to 6 meetings a year, regular meeting, excluding any special meetings on top of it, would we be the one investigating compensation to reflect those 4 to 6, or is this a council-related event?
So what has happened is council has deferred any kind of committee. There was a study done on staff salaries, and those staff salaries, council will receive basically an award of what they receive. Essentially, it's a kind of a COLA each year. And the other piece that happened is the previous council had a 1/3 tax. Andy, help me out here. 1/3 tax. We weren't taxed. Yeah, weren't taxed on 1/3 of the income. And the previous council had removed that because the government had removed that. And so now what will happen for the next term of council is that those salaries will be grossed up to reflect that, because the current council received less than the previous council. However, this council, most councils have not voted for salary increases for themselves. They vote for the next term of council, and that's what's going to happen with those items. And boards will carry on in the same way that they are. They will not be reviewed.
I guess where I'm coming with that, Mr. Chair, is that in the past the board has met once a month, 12 times a year, and we were provided a monthly stipend or an honorarium, whatever you want to call it, for that monthly regular meeting. If the OPP moves to 4 to 6 regular meetings, I'm excluding those special meetings, you're only meeting as a board, or the future board's only meeting half the time. So I'm saying, I'm looking from a taxpayer's perspective, why am I paying for a full year when you're only meeting for 4 to 6 for regular, excluding any special meetings on top?
Yeah, is this something you wanted to make a motion on and see if someone else would like to support you, or where would you like to take this?
Well, it's up to the board. Does anybody else not see this too? I mean, if you like, I can make a motion. It's just similar to prior meetings where that any future meetings, when it's a regular, whether it be the next term board, whatever, however you want to word it, just like the council, that remuneration for regular meetings be based off when you meet, special meetings at the current remuneration rate.
Member McIntosh, I forgot where I was there for a second.
Just my thoughts on this. I certainly see where Ken's coming with this. The only thing I find awkward about it is we're not necessarily paid for meetings. You're also paid for what you do between meetings.
Right.
And I know, like, I haven't been on this board the whole term, but by God, you guys have done a lot of work outside of meetings. So I don't know if just saying, well, there's less meetings, there should be less pay, because I don't know if the work's any less right now. Like I know town council, we only meet twice in the summer, but we certainly don't lower our wages because we only meet twice. It's not always about the meetings, it's about the work you do as well. So I do agree with Ken, but in a way, I think you're getting paid for what you do, not necessarily when you're meeting.
Yeah.
Very good. Board members, anybody else like to speak to that?
I agree with Andy. There's a tremendous amount of work done outside of the meetings.
Yeah. So my perspective, ladies and gentlemen, is I don't want to talk about my council salary or my board salaries. I know it's never a popular thing, but if the public were watching this or this was played back in some sort of way, I can tell everyone, and my family can guarantee that I'm working very hard for the town and the citizens, and I'm certainly not going to support moving back in any sort of way at this point. So that's my position.
Mr. Chair, if somebody wants to do the research and canvass other police service boards in similar circumstances, whether there's any precedent for this, I would be happy to reconsider it, even though I don't think it's a board jurisdiction issue. I think it's a council issue. But if you feel strongly enough about this and want to do that research and then come back to us with a proposal based on precedent, then you can certainly do that.
So what I'm hearing right now is that the board doesn't support it, and I can reach out to Dwayne to get his thoughts on that too as well.
Sure, that'd be very appropriate. And again, if you had documentation you wanted to share, I think the board would be open to viewing that.
Okay.
Well, the secondary issue, of course, is still whether the board has jurisdiction to set its own salary, which we don't.
No, we don't. However, if there was an issue, I think it would behoove us to bring it forward to council, right?
Well, sorry, Mr. Chair, then I would want to see the motion brought in a way that I could sort of understand that it was a recommendation from the board to council based on based on information that the board agreed with.
Yeah, but in other words, is there would have to be some research ahead of time for consideration, is what you're saying.
And Andy is absolutely right. If all we did was show up at a meeting and didn't do anything between meetings, then I think that would be one thing. But there is a ton of work that goes on that is built in to those meager, the meager stipend. So anyway, it's not even on the radar, right? Who cares? Paid or unpaid.
Okay. Ken, did you want to do anything further with this at this point, or are you going to do your research, or what's your intentions?
Yeah. If I get anything else further, I'll let you know.
Okay. Very good. Okay. So that's new business. And so we are at the time to adjourn. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we still have some things to fold off here and close. So I guess, do we go back to that same link, Mary Lou? Would be your recommendation, the closed link?
I think so. I just hope it'll work. I don't know if it was, if there's a time limit on it. All we can do is give it a try. If it doesn't work, then I will have to send a meeting invitation to each of you, a new one.
Okay. I don't think there's a lot to go through still over there, but I know we're on time limits. So if we could, instead of having a break, which I know we all probably want, if we could just whip back over there, considering that I know one of our members has to leave. So let's try on the closed link. And so I did motion to adjourn if I could on the open.
Moved.
Andy, Mary, all in favor?
Yes. So moved.
Yeah. Inspector Ward, thank you so much. Always good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. See ya.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Be safe. We'll talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
I left too soon. Thank you, Mary Lou.